Hello, what's up everyone? In this session, we will talk about box model and box sizing in HTML and CSS. So first thing first, let's have a wireframe shown up here. Let's just get this here. And this is how a basic HTML page prototype will look like. It'll have some sort of a branding and it will have some sort of navigations and some links at the top corner and sidebar as well as your main content area. Okay, so every single element in HTML can be seen as a box. That's what this represents. So everything, your branding and your navigation, including your sidebar and your main content area, looks like a box. They all stacked either horizontally or vertically. So this is how you will be seeing your HTML page. So first thing first, this is what is known as a box model. And our box, okay, so our box will have a margin, padding, and then a border. So that's what a box model really is. So if you take this section of a box, okay, I mean any boxes, you can take this one as well. So it will have a margin and padding as well as a border, and inside that you'll have your content area, which is a text, typically a text, another box, another div, or another paragraph in that. Okay, so let's just keep it that way. And then let's move on to our example of what basic box model is. So okay, here we have in our body we have one h1 tag. This one is also everything in HTML is a box model. So this one is a box, and even a paragraph is a box. Okay, so let's inspect our box model, our h1, and see how it may look in our browser, how the browser will see, right? So when you quickly look into the box model of our h1 tag, if you notice, the content area is this, and it has a padding, which obviously have not set, and it does have a margin. It's a quite large margin, like 21 pixels up and down, top and bottom, basically. It's not up and down. And then even for our paragraph tag element, sorry, if you notice, the same kind of setup. So your browser will show up like this. It will show your box model, show your elements in a box model like this. So you will get a fair idea on what's happening surrounding your element. Okay, so let's just stop here, and then let's give a bit of let's just say padding to our paragraph tag and see what changes. All right, let's go quickly here. Before that, let's give it a class for our paragraph. Class of box model test is always a best practice to have a class attached to your element before starting, because that will make more sense and it will be for the readability sake, and also a best practice. So what I was saying, let's add some padding just for the top. Okay, padding for everything. Let's just say 20 pixels, and instantly notice your content area is shrunk down a little bit because it just applied padding on all corners. To demonstrate our padding, let's add a border of 1 pixel and solid of color of, like, let's just add black. So it's fairly easy, right? So before padding, our box model, our paragraph tag box looks like this. So it doesn't have padding applied to it, and let me inspect that. Right, it has a, now we have applied a border, so it comes up with a border and some default set of margin, which we will cover that later on. And then let's apply padding to that. So once you apply padding, you instantly notice on all 4 sides you will have the padding applied to it. Okay, now let's alter our margin a little bit. Let's just say 5 pixels. So obviously, yeah, we got our padding as 20 pixel on all sides, border as 1 pixel on all, and then margin 5 pixel. Likewise, in your box, okay, so you can visualize like this. If you want to add your right hand side padding, more padding on the right hand side, you can quickly go and apply a CSS property like this, padding right, and give it as a 20 pixels. It's already 20 pixels, so let's just give 40 pixels and see what the effect is. So immediately you'll notice on the right hand side you got more padding. Let's just add some more pixels to see the effect. Yeah, it's quite more profound now, and you might notice it's not refreshed, so let's just inspect one more time. So you might notice the box model has taken up and showing up. Okay, so this is all about the box model. Now let's quickly move on to the types of box sizing. So what generally box sizing is. Let me close this up and then go to this wireframe. Okay, so this is our basic web page. Let's assume that this is the prototype or wireframe that we have. And moving on to box sizing. So there are two types of box sizing. One is content box and the other one is border box. What content box typically is, suppose you're going to add a 500 pixel width of a box. Let's assume in our example, let's just say we're going to assume a width of 500 pixels. I think it's too much for the screen. Let's just say 200 pixels, right? So this is how when you apply 200 pixels of your box will look like. Okay, so in a content box, when you apply 200 pixels, this is not 500, this is 200. What happens is it will apply, okay, it will apply 200 pixel just for the content, and when you add padding, let's just say 20 pixels on all the sides. Okay, so 200 plus 20, it will go up to 220 pixels. The total width of your box will be 220 pixels, and then again if you're going to add a border of 10 pixel, it will add up 220 plus 10, 230 pixels. And again if you're going to add up margin of 10 pixel, so altogether 200, 220, 230 and 240. So the total width of your box will become 230 pixels. So 240 pixels, the overall width. So it will take up only these, it will take the width of your box, what you set, not it will not account for padding, border and more. What is border box? So border box is just the opposite of content box, which means when you apply a 200 pixel of width of a box, it will account for margin, border and padding. So the entire box, right? So it will come to 200 pixel, whereas the content, the width of the content will shrink down, whereas in the content box the 200 pixel will be set just for this box. So rest of the dimensions you set will add up, and eventually your result will go up to whatever border or whatever margin you have set, like I said before. So this is about the box sizing. Let's just go ahead and have a look at some of the examples. So I've already made example here for both the border and content box. Let me uncomment that. So I have a class defined called content box and border box, and I have a CSS defined. Okay, so if you look at it, this is just a simple, yes, a simple section with class defined as content box, and then a border box which has some text, which is obviously a content area, and then padding and margins defined in them. I'll quickly go to our CSS to talk a bit more about that. So our content box example is this for the box sizing of content box, and for the border box is this one. So if you notice, we have set the width of 400 pixels wide, okay, and then we have set a margin of 40 and padding of 20. What happens is this will account your box content is 200 pixels wide. So when you quickly go to box model, you can see, sorry, 400 pixels wide. So whatever you add, it will add up, and the size of the box will increase. So 400, 420, and then 420 on both sides, so 440, and it goes all along. Okay, but whereas whereas on the border box, I quickly move on and see. Okay, when you set the 400 pixels, let me just bring this up. Okay, the content area is shrunk down to accommodate the entire 400 pixels inside one box. Okay, so this is pretty much about what's a content and what's a border box. Okay, so box sizing. It's always best to stick with one type of box sizing. It's always better to stick with one type, which is either you stick with content box or you either stick with a border box. In Bootstrap, if you look at it, they all stick with one box sizing, which is a border box, because it's easy. When you set a width, you know that your box width is gonna stay the same. If you're going to set 400 pixels of width, you are doubly sure that your box width will be 400 pixels, whether your content area is growing big or not, or your border or margin is going to grow big. So let's just say if I'm going to add up a border of like 40 pixels, right? So if you notice, my box size remains the same, yeah. Whereas if I go to content box, if I add that up, what happens is the width of the box again grows up. It grows. Okay, here the content is shrink to accommodate that width. So this is pretty much about the content box and border box. So this is all about the box sizing and box model. Thank you for watching Code with Srini. Please subscribe for more, and if you have any suggestions for any other videos, please put down your comments. Thank you so much.